Good evening. If you're tuning in, please comment. Let me know you're here so I can acknowledge you. Today, we're going to be talking about PSG, Luis Enrique, and how Luis Enrique actually transformed PSG, how he transformed their culture. So it's going to be a good topic. Again, if you're watching, let me know you're watching so I can acknowledge you. Also, if you have, you know, your own ideas why you think PSG has been transformed so quickly by Luis Enrique, you can also comment. So it's like an interaction I want to have, because PSG is playing some very entertaining football, and we all have our reasons why we all watch the game and analyze in different ways. So today I'm here to give you my own vision, my own opinions, why I think PSG has gone from pretenders to conquerors of Europe. Yes, for a long time, we've seen PSG gone to the finals, let's say quarterfinals, semifinals. They were known for La Remontada, the comeback that Barcelona had against PSG. We all remember that comeback. I think it was was it Unai Emery? But they have had also some good coaches. We're talking about Ancelotti. We're talking about Unai Emery. We're talking about the German coach, who's now current coach of England. So PSG has actually put out some money out there, in order to hire the best coaches, get the best players. They struggled to win it all, but now under Luis Enrique, we have seen a whole new PSG in such a short amount of time. So what happened? How did Luis Enrique overcome the difficulties? How did he change the culture at PSG? So that's what we'll be talking about today. Hope you guys are staying hydrated. I'm staying hydrated. It's actually very warm out there. It's a summer. We all enjoying the summer, and then we all also enjoying the FIFA Club World Cup. I know there has been some negative talk about that competition, but now we can see the likes of Paris Saint Germain playing Real Madrid, playing Bayern Munich, playing South American teams, playing American teams. I mean, it's different, right? We are not accustomed to that unless it's maybe UEFA Champions League. Hey, brother, Awasun Akusum, shout out to you. That's a great soccer fan, man. As I said earlier, you can comment. You can also put out your thoughts out there. I'll read them. It's gonna be like a conversation, It's gonna be an interactive talk because we all been watching, Paris Saint Germain dominate Europe and now dominating the FIFA Club World Cup. And we do appreciate football many different ways, and we are here to talk about it. I'm gonna give you my reasons why I think Paris Saint Germain has been changed, has been transformed from contenders or pretenders to conquerors of Europe, and now they're conquering the world, you know, under the FIFA tournament, the FIFA Club World Cup that's taking place here in the United States. So how you doing today, brother? Hope you're having a wonderful day, man. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and hope you're staying hydrated as I am. Again, please, for those who have not been following me, please, you can go follow me here on Facebook. You can also follow me on YouTube, 195. And for those who actually know me closely, I also host a weekly show on Jabulani Football Network with my very good friend, our Moma. So we talk football on that platform. We only talk 99.9%. It's about African football. So if you want to know more about African football, if you want to know what's going on in African football, as well as the Africans that actually play in Europe, tune in as a weekly show. And we are also on YouTube as well as Facebook. So you can follow us on all platforms. Today, it's about Paris Saint Germain and Luis Enrique. Are you entertained by the type of football PSG is playing? Their dominance and how they are dominating from UEFA Champions League. First of all, it was in League, right? And now Luis Enrique has extended that dominance into UEFA Champions League. Of course, it's their first Champions League win. It's always difficult to repeat. They are a young team, they are a young squad, one of the youngest to have won the UEFA Champions League. So it's too early to say that they will go ahead and maybe dominate again next year. There are so many good teams in this competition. So it's not evident that the team that wins this year is going to win next year because there are so many good teams, as you all can attest, and so many teams over the transfer window as they actually are, reinforcing. And maybe those who say that, Real Madrid, just lost 0-4, that Real Madrid might not overcome, these differences. Again, just hold your guns because football, things happen so fast in football. And then we just getting out from a month and maybe a couple of weeks ago. That's when the season ended. So teams have not really had like a preseason, or some of these players, have not really trained with each other. So there's time to gel. And then Real Madrid is also having a new coach. So there's time to gel. But we will not be talking about Real Madrid today. We'll be talking about Paris Saint Germain and Luis Enrique, and how in a short amount of time he's overturned the fortunes of Paris Saint Germain. We're gonna start in a couple of minutes. Let me go ahead and share. Do some housekeeping right now. Let me go ahead and share on my regular Facebook channel as well. Let me share that video, and we're gonna start in a little bit. Yeah, so for those actually watching or joining, please go ahead and share as well so that we can actually, yeah, Luis Enrique. Let me just share, then we're gonna start. I see about 4 people watching. In my favor, hey, my brother, how are you doing, man? Are you still in hold on, in Kansas, St. Louis? Are you still in St. Louis, Missouri? Yes, sir. Manchester United fan. uh, in a short amount of time. Yeah, so please go ahead and share. And we shall start in a minute. I got so much to talk about. And I hope you guys actually are with me here. Let me copy the link as well. Oh, hold on. What did I just do? I was copying the link. Let me just do this. Paul Luis Enrique transformed. Let me just put the same title and share. I was about to write something, and then when I hear, then okay, let's talk. Okay, so got you in a minute. We gonna start. It's gonna be interactive. It's gonna be interesting. Let's talk about the game. I see 6 people watching so far. So please, again, go ahead and comment so that I can acknowledge you. I say hello to all those watching right now. So let's go ahead and start. First of all, here's a question I have for you guys. Are you guys enjoying, you know, Paris Saint-Germain so far? And how do you think, what did Luis Enrique do in order to change the fortunes of Paris Saint-Germain? What do you think he actually did? Now, let's go ahead and talk. Okay. I prepared here, of course, I prepared a slideshow. PSG under Luis Enrique actually made history, okay, by winning the UEFA Champions League. They humiliated, yes, of course, those who watched the game. It was an humiliation of Inter Milan by a score of 5 goals to 0. It was one-way traffic. And coming into this competition, we already know how Inter Milan was so good defensively. But now, let's focus on Luis Enrique. Before I go into PSG, I want to give you a little background about Luis Enrique, his coaching career. On the 26th of May 2008, Luis Enrique returned to Barcelona, taking over the reins of the B team that was renamed Barcelona Athletic for that season. He succeeded longtime teammate Pep Guardiola. We know Pep Guardiola's story. He had left the B team and he was now coaching the professional team. Okay? When Luis Enrique actually took over, he said, I have come home. I finished my playing career. And now I start my coaching career where I began playing career. So this is actually to tell you about his philosophy as a coach. Barcelona is known for possession football, tiki-taka. And that's the core of Luis Enrique. And when he went to Barcelona B team, he helped the team return to Segunda Division. Okay? After an absence of about 11 years. So that's what Luis Enrique did for the Barcelona B team. So early success for him as a coach. So that's where he started. Now, he also coached in Italy with Roma. And the reason I'm telling you about Italy is because of their defensive and tactical approach of the game. We will see how that will affect Luis Enrique moving forward. But I want to start with Celta Vigo, where he coached from 2013 to 2014. Yes, he coached there just for a year. Okay. He was very successful in that season as well because he led Celta Vigo to the 9th position in La Liga. Celta Vigo had not finished that high in recent years in La Liga. He also influenced players like Rafinha, not the current Rafinha that plays for Barcelona, but the one that played. Nolito as well was another player. And Fontas was another player that played under Luis Enrique. And his approach to the game with Celta Vigo was known for possession football. So that tells you again, about his core from La Masia, Barcelona. During that season also, he influenced La Liga title because in a very crucial game against Real Madrid, he beat Real Madrid with Celta Vigo by the score of 2 goals to 0. And that cost Real Madrid the title that season. With that type of performance, Barcelona was looking because guess what? Pep Guardiola, again, that he had replaced in the lower leagues when he started his coaching, left Barcelona, and he was the natural replacer of Pep Guardiola. He went to Barcelona and was there from 2014 to 2017. He won Champions League with Barcelona. But guess what? Through his coaching career, he has never really gotten credit for that performance. Because remember, Barcelona had the likes of Lionel Messi, Neymar, and Suarez. And of course, their fabulous midfield. So no one actually respected or gave Luis Enrique credit for that. Okay? No credit was given. He left that coaching position and went for Spain. Okay? And that was at a time where Spain also needed revival. However, for those who remember, he stepped down from the Spanish national team because he had family matters. His daughter, Zana, was diagnosed with bone cancer and she passed away later in 2019. He came back after that tragedy to coach Spain yet again. And we remember some memorable moments. He lost after drawing 1-1 to Italy. Italy went on to win that Euro, but he lost to Italy on penalties after drawing 1-1. And then last World Cup, he also lost to Morocco, after penalty shootouts. And then he stepped down. So Luis Enrique, as we can see, although he had some early success, he also had some setbacks. And just like every good coach, failure always has room or opportunity to learn and make adjustments. Luis Enrique, next coaching job after stepping down from Spain was with PSG. When he arrived at PSG, there was always rumors about Mbappe leaving PSG. So he had to deal with that. It's something that he had actually signed for. He had to deal with that, because that's what he actually signed for. So Enrique were going to Barcelona, into PSG. We saw the exodus of players like Neymar. Just before that, we saw Neymar leave, we saw Lionel Messi leave, and later on, Mbappe would leave. Before that, PSG was known as a team because let's get this right? PSG had been spending lots of money building a team, signing the best players, signing the best coaches. I talked about the Ancelotti. I talked about Unai Emery. Okay, there are many coaches that went through PSG, some good players. And it's not as if PSG was not successful because sometimes I know in football, we talk about success only when teams win the big one. I'm talking about Champions League. PSG had been dominating league, but that was not success anymore because it was how many times in a row did they win at one point? Is it 9, 10, or 11 times in a row? So it wasn't success anymore because everybody who went to PSG was winning, the league. So it wasn't success anymore. However, another team that had done the same and had just won the Champions League was Manchester City. So for fans like us, except in the era of, let's say, Olympique Marseille, where I saw a team use lots of money, buy players, buy the best coaches, and win the Champions League. That was only Marseille. Teams in Italy, also like AC Milan, Juve, back in the days, were doing that. But we have not seen a team like Manchester City come from zero to hero. I mean, in my footballing, years. But now we saw how PSG, because PSG had some great players. We're talking about George Weah. We're talking about, there have been some great, Jokaev. So there have been some good players that actually went through PSG, but no one was actually, they were not able to win the Champions League. Best coaches, Ancelotti, they were not able to win the Champions League. So culturally, what was happening with PSG? The Mbappe issue with Enrique coming in was a big issue. So how was Enrique going to change the fortunes of PSG? Mbappe's exit actually happened. You know, Mbappe exiting PSG marked the ending of an era, marked the ending of PSG being dependent on one player. There's this interview that Luis Enrique actually gave where he said PSG, in his opinion, will be better after the exit of Mbappe. He had a vision, and he repeated that not long ago when asked about that. He said he rather had four players that would score 12 goals than have a player that would score 42 goals. He was alluding to Mbappe. And I don't want to sound like those who blame Mbappe for the failures or the shortcomings of PSG. Because while he was there, PSG gave him support, okay, as far as bringing in players. Of course, Akosong actually agrees with me. He says the departure of Mbappe was crucial. Of course, why was the departure of Mbappe crucial? First thing, it was crucial because Luis Enrique now had the elephant out of the room. Because remember, in that first season, he was knocked out by Borussia Dortmund. And the way PSG was knocked out by Borussia Dortmund, there was some talk. Within the season, there were moments where he decided not to play Mbappe. He said PSG has to get used to not playing with Mbappe because in the near future, that will be their reality. And he was right. There's a video out there where he talks about leadership off the field. He talks to Mbappe in Spanish. He tells him, for you to be a leader, I hear you like Michael Jordan. Those were his words. There's some foul language in that video, so I don't want to say it, but he said, in order to be a leader, you have to be accountable. Hold yourself accountable, which means it has to be by example on the field. And the reason he was saying that is because he wanted Mbappe to be the first defender. He wanted Mbappe to defend more. He was giving a role to Mbappe that meant Mbappe would have to defend more. I'm not sure how Mbappe took that, but his body language, if you go ahead and watch how they were dumped off by Borussia Dortmund, if you go ahead and watch how he played, afterwards, you would see that he was not committed to defending. And psychologically, this is very, very important because the weight of a player like Mbappe, he's a superstar. Go look at his numbers for PSG. Okay. Every coach that came tried to build the team around Mbappe. Help was brought in. I'm talking about Neymar. I'm talking about Messi, and it almost worked with Neymar. If you guys remember the finals they played against Bayern Munich, Bayern won by 1 goal to 0. Of course, we like talking about football only when you win something. But if you watch that PSG squad, that was a good team. That team could have won the Champions League. But Bayern was just too good. Was just too good. And even the other team, it was a psychological knockdown, I think, by Emery. Was that Emery? La Remontada. That team where you had the Brazilian defender who was captain. That team was also very good. However, they could not win it. So something had to give. So after that conversation with Mbappe, I did not see a change. His mind was just, I want to leave PSG. I want to go play somewhere else. I want to go to Real Madrid. And I want to win the Champions League. Now, that's when a player like Dembele comes in. Okay? Dembele comes in. For those who have watched Dembele from Borussia Dortmund to when Barcelona actually signed him, you will come to realize that he was very, very talented. Okay? Dembele is a great talent, a brilliant footballer. And the reason I say that is just because you need to watch him play. It's when he was at Dortmund. You need to watch him play when he was at Dortmund. There's nothing he couldn't do. When he went to Barcelona, he was not consistent. But the talent was there. The talent is actually undeniable. There is no way you can deny that talent when you watch the way Dembele played for Barcelona. The talent was definitely there. You know, but the only difference was that he was not consistent. He was, it could be due to injury because he was always injured. If you watch Dembele, he was always injured. Then towards his final year in at Barcelona, I think he got married. But now, when you watch Dembele, you watch a mature player. He's 27 years old now. Mature player. Then he went to PSG where the squad was actually bigger because when Dembele went to Barcelona, Barcelona had, you know, with the financial problems, the squad was not that big. They didn't have enough depth. He was supposed to be the leader. He was there with Griezmann. So things were not working actually well. The environment actually was not stable. But he had those flashes of brilliances. But now with PSG, bigger squad, the league is not that. I mean, by the time it's 10 games to the end, you can rest him because the league is not that competitive. They are actually real dominant. So you can actually rest Dembele. Okay? So Luis Enrique was able to talk to Dembele. And what happened is that if you watch them this year in the Champions League, it's not as if PSG just started dominating. No, Luis Enrique had to do some troubleshooting. He had to do some troubleshooting. And that's when he decided that he will give Dembele a free role. And one thing also that helps PSG is because PSG, as a young team, one of the youngest teams to have won the Champions League. So that helps them play the type of football that they play. Luis Enrique has changed the culture of Paris Saint-Germain. Before, Paris Saint-Germain would just buy. Now there is a true balance. It's mixing the experience with the very young and talented kids like Dewey. Okay, Due actually came from, he did he come from Rennes, but this is his first season, you know, coming out from Rennes. So they're going after young, talented kids as well. It's not only like the superstar, the big egos that come and then there's a problem because that was the problem with Neymar, Messi, and then Mbappe. Too many big egos. Imagine you have three big egos and all of them are not defending. That's the problem with Real Madrid right now. How do you get Mbappe, Vinicius? I know Rodrigo is he wants to leave. Bellingham to defend convincingly. That's the problem Real Madrid is having now. That was the problem PSG actually had. You had Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. Three big egos. Messi doesn't defend. Okay. Yeah. But he was explosive as soon as when the ball comes to him. That has been his game. And he's been able to get away with murder because he was so talented. The coaches let him do that. Now, can Mbappe do that? You know, can Mbappe do that and still win Champions League? He was able to do that and win everything in France. But can he do that at Real Madrid and win Champions League? Can Vinicius do that at Real Madrid and win Champions League? Can Bellingham do that at Real Madrid and win Champions League? I'm talking about the current Real Madrid, the Real Madrid that just got humiliated by Paris Saint-Germain. Dembele understood that he couldn't do that because guess what? He was also benched a number of times by Luis Enrique, and he got the message. His position was also changed. He had a free role. He played now central, and what happened? He became a better goal scorer. Look at his numbers. You know his numbers are amazing, but that did not happen overnight. That came through leadership. That came through coaching from a great manager, Luis Enrique. Yes, Luis Enrique is a great manager because now he's doing it his own way. He's doing it with kids. Of course, he's doing it with kids. And I made a statement earlier. Let me look for that statement. I made a statement earlier on Facebook yesterday when Real Madrid was humiliated by Paris Saint-Germain. I made a statement. Let me go to that statement and read the statement. And most definitely maybe read some comments, okay, under that statement. Let me look for that statement. Just bear with me, guys. It's interesting. Let me go to my Facebook profile and read that statement. I said, as of now, PSG is a better version of Barcelona. I'm talking about the current Barcelona, okay? Because we all know that Barcelona played Real Madrid 5 times in La Liga and beat them and dismantled them, okay? I said PSG is a better version of Barcelona. Psychologically, Real Madrid was beaten and punished in all aspects of the game. Of course, if you watched the game yesterday, Real Madrid was dominated in all aspects of the game. I'm talking about ball retention. I'm talking about pressing without the ball. I'm talking about defense, offense, all aspects of the game. They were dominated. Okay. And the reason I say that Real Madrid is Barcelona, PSG is a better version of Barcelona is because they're a team that can defend. If you think I'm lying, if you're doubting me, just go watch the game Bayern Munich against Real Madrid, against Paris Saint-Germain, where Paris Saint-Germain won by the scores of 2 goals to 1. They got 2 red cards. When did Paris Saint-Germain score their first goal? It was at the 79th minute. Okay. They scored their first goal in the 79th minute. What were they doing in the first half? They were defending all the time. Bayern dominated possession. It's very rare to see Bayern or any team dominate possession against Real Madrid. That's what Bayern did. Bayern created about 7 chances. They had 7 shots on goal, okay, on target, but yet could not score. That tells you that Real Madrid is a team that can defend. One of the biggest issues of Barcelona being kicked, being dumped out of Champions League semifinals by Inter Milan was because they could not defend. Yes, but look at PSG. They can defend. Remember earlier in this conversation, what did I tell you about Luis Enrique? He spent some time in Italy with Roma. I'm sure that's where he influenced his game because that was immediately when he left. When he left Barcelona B, I think he went to Italy. Okay, so the way the Italians, the catenaccio, the way the Italians approach the game, that psychological part, that defensive part, to be able to structure your team in such a way where you can not only be offensive and expose your defense the way Barcelona actually plays today, but you can be strong defensively. Okay. And talking about defense, I want to talk about their captain, the captain of PSG. I want to talk about Marquinhos. I talked about Dembele and how Dembele actually changed his mindset to become very clinical, very important, elusive player. Okay. A leader at age 27. Marquinhos. Enrique is one of the coaches that believe that players have to decide who their captain is. Of course, players have to decide who their captain is. He doesn't appoint. He lets the players vote for their captain. And that's what happened. Marquinhos was voted as captain. Keep in mind, he's been captain before. So he was just reconducted. The vote just went back to his favor because when Mbappe left, he was next in line. Okay. So the players, the young players, looked upon him, and he's been a strong pillar defensively, very disciplined, takes care of the football, strong one-on-one defender. Okay, he played a long time alongside his countryman who left for Chelsea and also won the Champions League. Let me see what our song says. He's superior to the encounter against Aston Villa. Martin O'Neill made some ridiculous comments about Marquinhos. Oh yeah, but it's good that you brought out that game also, Aston Villa, because I think Aston Villa was the other team that gave this Paris Saint-Germain team, apart from Bayern Munich. Okay, Aston Villa gave them a good game, a great game. That tells you why I rate Unai Emery, okay, highly. I rate him very highly because of games like that. You can tell, some of these Spanish coaches, they know how to actually play each other. I mean, it's very interesting. And I've always thought that I would love to see Barcelona play Paris Saint-Germain. You know, I would love because their styles are identical. Paris Saint-Germain is a better all-around team. But I would love to see those two teams. I think it would have made for a better UEFA Champions League finals, you know, although PSG would have still won because that Barcelona defense needs to actually get better. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wasson, he actually agrees with me. He said PSG suffered at Villa Park. Of course, they did suffer at Villa Park, man. That tells you about Unai Emery, and it's quite interesting, man. When you see the way PSG, we'll get to the tactical part first, like. But let me throw the focus of some of these players that I've just stated that I have on the slide over here. I talked about Marquinhos, his leadership. Then Vitinha, oh man, you know, you look like a player like Vitinha. He is almost the height of a Kante. But I mean, his whole football is different than Kante. He doesn't have the long legs of a Bosque, right? He doesn't have the energy, the physicality of a Rodri. I'm just calling you some holding midfielders because that's how the Spanish game is actually based, right? that holding midfielders, that pivot, sixth position, that brain, that engine of the team, or maybe of the physicality or the technicality of Luka Modric. He's not that type of player. I mean, he's just different. His decision making, you know, is very good, and he could not be that good without players like Fabian Ruiz and other Spanish, Neves, a Portuguese. So you see the mentality, you see the midfield, because I think the midfield is what makes PSG dominate. Of course, you also have their movement. You also have their quickness. I've talked about, their how quick they actually converge, on their opponents. All these things are very essential to the way PSG actually plays. If you look at the game, okay, against Real Madrid, Real Madrid could not close down on those three players. Real Madrid was scared, you know, and of course they made mistake, that actually just killed them. But Real Madrid could not close down on those three midfielders. And if you cannot close down on those three midfielders, okay, you cannot interrupt their movement, they will actually kill you. They will actually just kill you. And that's what's actually happening. Those guys are playing with so much confidence, and it all starts with Luis Enrique, because he's been able to transfer his message onto the team, how he wants them to play. Their roles are well defined. They understand all their roles. They look into leaders as Dembele playing, because if you looked at the two goals that Paris Saint-Germain scored, they all came from the press by Dembele. The first one, Asensio made that mistake. It was Dembele pressing him and took the ball. He was fouled. That could have been a penalty. But guess what? Fabian Ruiz was there and he scored. The second one, Rudiger with that error. It was Dembele on the press. And then the goal happens. You see what I'm saying? And those guys are really fast. Okay. Another part of teamwork that I want to highlight, one of the best left and right backs in the game, Mendes and Hakimi. I mean, their numbers are just outrageous. If you look at their numbers, if you look at the way they play, okay, sometimes they are spreading the field, you know, and they all have these roles, right? But they do that in different moments, depending on where the ball is, depending on what runs they are seeing, you know. They do that in many different moments, you know. It's it's like a machine when you see them work. They know when to press, they know when to fall back, you know, and they know when to cover. There was an incident when Real Madrid was counterattacking. It was Vinicius, and Vinicius had beaten all the central defenders. Guess who recovered? It was Mendes who recovered. If that was against Barca or any team, I bet you Vinicius will at least pull the shot. But against Paris Saint-Germain, Mendes recovered and had a clean tackle. Best left back in recent years. Best left back ever in recent years. Okay. Yes, best left back ever in recent years. I hear some people compared him to the Roberto Carlos. Roberto Carlos did not have his speed, but all that. I wouldn't go that far and compare him to Roberto Carlos, because Roberto Carlos was special, especially during free kicks. He was special. But when you see Mendes play, the way they play, the positioning, when PSG has the ball, he's almost like a center forward. And that forces teams like Real Madrid, as you saw yesterday, to actually not be able or not be effective on counterattacks. Okay? Because by the time they want to start a counterattack, you know, players like Mendes are actually there with their speed, and they can cover for their defense, for the high defense. That's the difference. You have Akimi also on the other end, who is very, very fast, who can cover for his team, you know. So the team is well oiled. But I keep asking myself, how did Luis Enrique do all this in such a short amount of time? I mean, it's brilliant. It's brilliant because there's no blueprint. Okay, there's no blueprint out there for such performances. You know, there's no blueprint out there for such performances. When was the last time? I think it's Bayern Munich that we saw a team so dominant on both sides of the ball. I mean, just go look at the stats when they played against Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich dominated possession, but was unable to score. Of course, they finished with nine men. It was just remaining 4 or 5 minutes. But still, how many times have you seen a team have a clear look on goal when they play PSG? It rarely happens. It rarely happens again, and that's thanks to the way you know Luis Enrique is actually coaching this team. You know, and before I go any further, I know I spoke about the daughter passing away, and he had to take some time off football. The time he took off football might have helped him reflect, help him know how to overcome tragedy. And when he actually went to PSG, he used that as a learning curve in order to teach his team how to overcome tragedy. And when you see the way the team was playing for him, especially in Champions League, you saw that hunger. You saw a team that believed in their coach, and you saw a team that was ready to die for their coach. And this all happened during that transfer window, the January transfer window. PSG spotted one player, Kovacevic. that name is that name is a tough one to call. I mean, the guy who came from Napoli, and they knew that they needed a player who was elusive and dangerous one on one to play on the left side, and that could rotate freely. And they identified the right player, went for him, were aggressive, they got him, and that was a turning point. Apart from what I talked about Dembele, that was another turning point that changed the fortunes of PSG, because before that, knockout stages, they had to go through the playoff for Champions League. But when they came out on the other side, they were just blowing everyone off. They were a very, very dangerous team to play against. The speed was there, the technical ability was there, the hustling ability was there. You know, everything was there for PSG to be successful. Let me see what Hillary Tanke is saying. Well, I believe the players in PSG are mature and play like a team, unlike the days of Messi and Neymar. Of course. Yeah, they destroyed Brest. Yeah, of course, of course. They're playing as a team, and that's what we're talking about. Now, just keep in mind, if you have such a talented amount of group of players playing as a team, running and overworking Paris Saint-Germain, that's not yet a team that just had a new coach. It's not as if Ancelotti was there, the results would have been different. The results would have not been different. But a team that talented, young, full of energy, because no matter who comes in, you saw the other day, Pacho was suspended. They had players who were suspended after taking that red card. New players came off the bench. Could you make a difference who was playing or not? We've seen them play without Dembele. They started this competition without Dembele. We saw them play with Arsenal against, they didn't start with Dembele. Okay. So, I mean, so it's as if no matter who you bring, right? You know, no matter who you bring into the team, they just go ahead and do, what they have to do, you know. And as I said, the culture of Paris Saint-Germain has been changed by Luis Enrique. They were just a buy team. Now they are mixing that with youth, and youth is where the energy is, because PSG is outrunning opponents. They have the talent. They are outscoring opponents, and they're playing the best teams without conceding goals. They are good on on both sides of the ball. I mean, that's amazing. Enrique had won the Champions League before, a treble with Barcelona. He wasn't given credit. Fast forward with PSG, he's doing that with kids. After he let one of the best center forwards in the game, or one of the best strikers in the game, in Mbappe, leave. And when Mbappe left, everyone was asking, how will PSG survive? Just think about that. Everyone was asking, how will PSG survive? Now we all know how PSG is doing without Mbappe. And of course, there are some people who want to blame Mbappe. We know the culture of football. We know all the small talk. But now it's left on Mbappe. The ball is in his court because he's in the same situation. The situation he ran away from PSG is the situation he's finding himself at Real Madrid, because Real Madrid has all these big egos: Vinicius, Bellingham, Mbappe. Who's gonna defend? Because you can get away with murder when you play the little teams. You can get away with it if you play in La Liga. You can still be dominant. But when you play the very best teams like Paris Saint Germain, how can you make up for three players not defending? That's impossible. That's impossible. Of course, we saw the mistakes made by Real Madrid defensively, but those mistakes were not actual. Those mistakes was actually forced out of them because of the speed of PSG, and that's what confused PSG. Oh yeah, yes, Akosong actually agrees with me. He received little, of course, you know, little credit. He didn't receive little credit when he won with Barcelona because of the Messi's, the Neymars, the Suarez, the Javis, the Iniesta. I mean, because of all those players, the Busquets, you know, no one actually gave him like, full credit. But fast forward, he is doing that now in his own way. Yes, Luis Enrique can also defend. And I think that came because he flirted with coaching in although not for long, in Italy with AS Roma, before he went ahead and got, the big jobs. He also coached Celta Vigo, as I said earlier. So he had some early successes. Okay. But the losses also helped him, the struggles, personal struggles, because that's what coaching is all about. You know, the coaches or the managers are not machines, they are human beings. The players are not machines, they are human beings. So, how do you get them to play for you? You go into this difficult situation. Mbappe left. You were involved in it, like it or not. There were instances some fans were blaming Luis Enrique. A lot of people doubted him. Okay, until when they started with Brest, that Champions League playoff. After the Champions League, I mean, they started before that. They beat, I think, Manchester City. Did they play Juve? And then we saw them dismantle Brest when the playoffs started, and the rest was history. They had some tough games. Aston Villa, Bayern Munich with company coaching. That was a tough game. If you did watch that game, that was a tough game. The game against Real Madrid was just a walk in the park. It was like a training session for obvious reasons. Okay. They were just too good. They were just too fast. And defensively, Real Madrid, how many shots on target did you see Real Madrid get? How many clear opportunities did you see Real Madrid get? They were just everywhere. If you look at the body language of Real Madrid, they were defeated. I think Xabi Alonso was asking himself, what have I gotten myself into? You know, I mean, that's how dominant, PSG was. The tournament is not over. They play Chelsea. Okay? They play Chelsea. And when you look at Chelsea, in my own honest opinion, just go look at Chelsea. What good team has Chelsea played in this, you know, what good team has Chelsea played? Just go look at Chelsea. I went to the game in Charlotte where Chelsea played Benfica. It was a hard watch. Passing the ball for Chelsea, it was a hard watch. Okay, the opportunities Chelsea actually got in that game failed on Cucurella because Benfica was a team that sinks deep and make you try to beat them, from the wings. And that's the same way PSG actually does also. PSG sends you to the wings and make you try to beat them from the wings. The way I see this game, they're gonna deny Cole Palmer the ball. They're gonna isolate Delap, the center forward of Chelsea, and they're gonna dominate the midfield. I think it's gonna be one-way traffic. Of course, it's football. Anything can happen in football. An early goal can change the game. A red card can change the game. That's why we all like the game of football. But in spite of that, I think it's going to be a one-way traffic. Okay? It's going to be a one-way traffic. There's no doubt in my mind PSG actually wins, this tournament. And it's going to be good for football. It's going to be very good for football. Because PSG is actually just playing the best football, the most dominant football. Luis Enrique right now is the best coach in football. Okay? But again, this is a learning moment. This is a learning moment. And what this has done to French football, it will only get them more viewers. I will be watching the Ligue 1. I'm serious about it. I will be watching Ligue 1 because there are some teams that have beaten PSG in Ligue 1. This PSG in full force. There are some teams that have beaten PSG in Ligue 1 because one thing that's good about Ligue 1 is that they have some young players. They have some players coming from the academy. So talking about energy, the teams can actually play. They can run. Yes, it's a pleasure to watch. Of course, they play one of the best football. Apart from Barcelona that I like watching, which is actually my team, PSG plays one of the best football. You actually want to watch them, week in, week out, and see what they are actually doing, So it's actually great, to see something like this happen actually to Luis Enrique. He's a product of Barca. I mean, after the dismantling of Real Madrid, he said his phone was blowing up. Barca supporters calling him. to say thank you, because you know any win against Real Madrid for Barca fans is actually an event to celebrate. Okay, I have a question over here. Yeah, who's better, Dembele versus Yamin Lamar? Okay, thank you for that question. That's a serious question. This year, this year, Dembele is gonna win the Ballon d'Or, not because he's better. It's an overall, not because he's better overall than Lamine Yamal, but because PSG has won it all. Of course, he scored more goals than Lamine Yamal. He was dominant, and psychologically, he has become like he's more mature, you know, and his team has won it all. Okay. I think he has also proven that he can defend. I've seen Lamine Yamal defend. But as far as ability, what Lamine Yamal does with the ball, the passes, Lamine Yamal is just more talented and can do it all. Just go watch Lamine Yamal, what he has done, like from winning the Euros at that age 16, 17, and just think about it. Who does that at that age? Because it's also psychological. The way he plays, the way he attacks players. Okay, when you look at that, then you understand that Lamine Yamal is on a different level. Yeah, Lamine Yamal is on a different level. So if you want to say talent, where Lamine Yamal are with Dembele, Dembele is nowhere close to Lamine Yamal. Yeah, but Dembele fulfilled his role in order to dominate football this year, and it will be worthy for him to win the Ballon d'Or. Okay, because he has done nothing wrong. You know, he has done nothing wrong. Because sometimes, of course, you know, the trophies that you win as a team will help you. Because keep in mind, winning the Ballon d'Or is a vote by journalists, right? It's a vote by people. And I've seen many people answer this question, like when it comes to Dembele and Lamine Yamal. You see some of the passes at age 16, 17 that Lamine Yamal is actually given. You know, I mean, his vision is just out of this world, man. Even Messi was not doing that at that young age. But there are so many things that have to come together for a player to be consistent. You know, let me see what Hilaire is saying. First of all, Awasun says he has an urge because of the Champions League. I do agree with you. Uh, then Hilaire says, great analysis, bro. Is that comparison between Dembele and Yamal? I agree, Dembele should win the Ballon d'Or. Yes, of course. When you look at this calendar year, I think it's been normal that Dembele wins actually the Ballon d'Or. But as for who is better overall player, I think Lamine Yamal. If Lamine Yamal can stay healthy, he's gonna do things, man. The things he does over and over, the goals he scored with the difficulties. Just go watch him, the difficulties of his goal, and he does that over and over. I mean, that's amazing. Playing as a winger, because when you score from that angle, coming from right to left as a winger, you have a small target. But he does that over and over, as if the goalpost was that big. That's the degree of difficulty, and that's what I'm talking about. But you see Dembele, where does he score his goals? He's almost like in the middle. He has to play in that middle, okay, where the goal is wider. I'm not taking anything from away from his finishing, but guess what? Lamine Yamal can only get better. He's 17. He has 10 years to be 27 if he's healthy. And then with growth and experience, progression, he's going to get better. Just think about that. You know, talent wise, I think he's a better player. I heard some people were trying to compare Desiree Doué with him. Of course, Desiree Doué is 19. He's also going to grow. But he's not near the finisher that Lamine Yamal is finishing with that degree of difficulty, curving balls, going against 3, 4 players and shredding them and earning the respect of defenders like the Italian defenders. I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, but it's good competition. It's good competition because we have another year of football coming on. We have another Champions League coming on, and of course, FIFA just gave us what we call the topping of the cake. You know, which was actually amazing, despite some critics who came and said it was just too much, too many games. But they failed to say that in the early 2000s, the difference between the early 2000s and let's say in the 2020s, right up maybe to 2010, from 2010, was that in the 2000s, teams or players played about, let's say, 50 games or 50 games, 54 games. And from the 2010s right up to now, they play about 20 or 15 to 20 more games. And the FIFA Club World Cup has not changed that because most of the teams that actually play now would have played maybe 4 or 5 games, preseason games. You see what I'm saying? So it was just a matter of money. Who gets the money? That's where the actual problem lies. Now we've hit the hour mark. It was an interesting conversation, interesting topic for me to talk about Luis Enrique and Paris Saint-Germain and how they went ahead to dominate, Europe and football in recent years. How they actually maintained high pressure, used vertical passes, forced teams to go wide in order to try to attack them, used Usman Dembele, Doué, their speed to stretch defenses and rallied behind midfield or midfielders like Vitinha, Fabian Luis, and the other Spanish guy that I didn't mention. His name is his name is getting out of my mind. And basically, they embrace a type of fluid pressing, that midfield. And the first defender start from Dembele, Doué, and the left winger, you know, they started that press, falling into the midfield, acting as a team. There's a video out there I wish I could show you guys how the left back went into the midfield, collected the ball from Mbappe, and proceeded to attack. So you see that teamwork, you see everybody fighting together. And because of how young the team is, they have that energy to do it all, you know. And that's what actually transformed Paris Saint-Germain, transformed the culture from pretenders to conquerors of Europe, and now conquering the FIFA Club World Cup, you know. So that's it for me. Let me see one last comment that I was on said comprehensive breakdown of Enrique's journey as a coach and his transformation of PSG. Great job. Thanks, bro. Thank you very much. And I do appreciate you guys. Please share, follow this channel. We shall be having more tactical breakdowns like this one and just bring the game closer. That's how we need to consume this game. We all have ideas, the way we watch the game, the way we understand the game. And when we come out and have these conversations, we can understand each other better. And for next time, if any of you guys want to join, I can always send you guys an invite so that we can have a one-on-one conversation. So that's the way I want to do. I want to analyze football. That's the way I want to talk football. So we can always do this. And thank you guys once more. It was 1905 by True Lion. Oh, thanks, Hilaire, man. Thanks, bro. Much love to you, bro. I appreciate you.